During a time of profound uncertainty for Burkina Faso, there came an electrifying event that tested not only the mettle of its leadership, but also solidified the inviolable unity of its citizens. On the 26th of September 2023, the transitional government of Burkina Faso declared that it had intercepted an assassination attempt against the country's new interim president, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. This was not just a conspiracy against an individual, but a conspiracy against a nation trying to reclaim its future, sovereignty, and dignity. And while the plotters plotted in secret, the citizens of Burkina Faso wept openly. Their message was simple: they stand with Traoré, and their support has been growing ever since. Burkina Faso, located in the geographical heart of West Africa, has been defined by its resilience in the face of adversity. Burkina Faso has endured extreme political and social unrest over the past decade. Once a stronghold of revolutionary ideology during the rule of Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso has experienced two populist uprisings, a series of coups, an increasing jihadist insurgency, and increasing tensions with its former colonial overlord, France. The politically unstable, culturally rich country is caught up in a whirlwind of political instability, which causes the citizens to look nervously to the future. Against this turmoil, Ibrahim Traoré's rise has been a ray of hope and an agent of change. Traoré, who became acting president after the ousting of his predecessor Paul-Henri Damiba in September 2022, is new blood. His leadership is not politically seasoned, but has a military background and a keen sense of purpose to restore order, dignity, and sovereignty to Burkina Faso. His takeover was not a coup d'etat, it was a generational and ideological revolution. For the majority of Burkinabe, it was a reprieve from the generation of former leaders who had done little to shield the nation from internal conflict and external exploitation. Upon assuming office, the country was facing a serious security crisis. Militarized insurgents, particularly jihadist extremists, had made huge swaths of the country ungovernable. With the government failing to protect its citizens and provide security, frustration, and despair loomed over the nation. Damiba's election promises to rid the country of extremist threats had proved hollow, and Burkina Faso citizens were let down. In contrast, Ibrahim Traoré's promise of a homegrown, more representative alternative and his commitment to putting Burkina Faso's interests above foreign interference quickly gained him many hearts. Just 34 years old, Ibrahim Traoré is a fresh face of leadership in Burkina Faso, a generation untainted by the political errors of the past and bound together by a feeling of responsibility to restore the sovereignty of the country. Traoré's populist leadership has not only resonated with a remarkable degree with the majority of Burkinabe, but particularly with the young. Traoré's leadership has been focused on the establishment of a more representative government, enhanced security, and national pride based on anti-imperialist discourse and Pan-Africanism. His rise to leadership is important not just in Burkina Faso's domestic political turmoil, but also in the broader West African pattern of military coups and unconventional rule. Among the Sahel countries as a whole, citizens have lost confidence in conventional political elites and their inability to protect national interests, as external military powers, such as the French, have so far failed to deliver lasting peace. Traoré, by shifting Burkina Faso from Western hegemony and pursuing new collaboration with Russia and Turkey, signaled his aspiration to depart from the colonial past and pursue an independent path of action. But Traoré's foreign policy shift and his challenge to the status quo have placed him in the crosshairs both domestically and internationally. Since taking office as president, he has survived nearly 20 assassination plots, a testament to how intense resistance is to him from hardened elites in the country and global players who are not at ease with his stand on sovereignty. The September 2023 attempt at assassination was a grim reminder of how much his enemies would do to hold on to the past. It is what makes Ibrahim Traoré so polarizing a figure. His refusal to get rid of French soldiers who had been stationed in the nation in the name of fighting terrorism. He boldly took the step of severing military ties with Paris and ending all of the existing military cooperation agreements. Not just a straightforward rejection of French influence in the area, but a resistance to the broader Western-led international order as well. In a move closer to Russia and Turkey, Traoré signaled that Burkina Faso would no longer serve as a toy on the chessboard of the geopolitics of old colonizers. To the Burkinabe, this French independence was a long overdue attempt at restoring national pride and dignity. More and more with time, most felt that the political leaders of Burkina Faso had been far too much linked to foreign agendas, particularly that of France, which had historically controlled Burkina Faso's political and economic spheres. The conviction that they were betrayed by Ouagadougou made the eruption of anti-imperialist sentiment in the people stronger, as they ardently craved leadership that valued their interests ahead of other nations' pressures. The failure of the assassination plot on September 2023 triggered an unprecedented tide of unity with Traoré throughout the nation. Rather than intimidating him, the attempt to assassinate him united all in protecting their leader. In Bobo-Dioulasso, Ouagadougou, and other major cities, hundreds of citizens poured into the streets protesting the conspiracy and their unshakable devotion to their president. Peasants, students, vendors, and village chiefs marched together, waving photos of Traoré and national flags and anti-imperialist signs. What distinguished these protests as particularly remarkable was their mass-based nature. They were not governmental or political party-guaranteed actions. They were driven by a common desire to hold on to an independent, proud image of Burkina Faso that could not be controlled from the outside. It was not about protecting an individual. It was about protecting a national movement. It was social media that had the blame for spreading this sentiment, as the number sign Je soutiens Traoré, I support Traoré, and number sign Burkina Libre, Free Burkina, hashtags went viral in Francophone Africa. For others, Ibrahim Traoré is the promise of youth, over 65% of Burkina Faso's population, and an end to those political elites who have long muzzled their voices. His populistic rhetoric, mobilizing on the basis of self-determination, nationalism, and Pan-Africanism, resonates with young Burkinabe who see in him a political figure who hears and understands their plight. Traoré's support is symptomatic of a wider political awareness among the youth in Burkina Faso. This group has traditionally been denied any real political participation, but Traoré's government has made an effort to shift that. Through the focus on youth employment, education reform, and local defense forces, VDPs, Traoré has brought young people into the political fold and urged them to become involved in determining the future of the country. His administration's commitment to rebuilding war-torn schools, improving vocational education, and investing in rural economies cut down on migration and created opportunities for young people within their own communities. Traoré's administration has given young Burkinabe a sense of ownership and agency regarding the country's development, a sense that none of the previous administrations had given. To a great extent, Ibrahim Traoré is today the symbol of a new political order in Burkina Faso. He represents the dreams of a generation tired of corruption, exploitation, and the collapse of old systems in politics. His rise represents the hope of an inclusive, democratic, and independent future for the nation. A future not controlled by foreigners or entrenched elites. As Traoré becomes more popular at home, his critics abroad have not hesitated to label him as authoritarian. Western media have repeatedly accused his government of cracking down on opposition, stifling the media, and limiting political opposition. Human rights organizations have lamented the handling of journalists and the crackdown on political liberties while he was in power. But to the Burkinabe, many of these criticisms are hypocritical. They accuse the same media that had been ignoring decades of corruption and mismanagement under the old regimes of now rushing to condemn a government that is attempting to reassert national sovereignty and independence. Burkinabe citizens are increasingly disillusioned with Western media reporting, which they see as a projection of external interests, determined to discredit the country for attempting to forge its own path. Complaints that the international community's indignation against Burkina Faso's domestic policies is selective follow its discomfort at the nation's growing alignment with Russia and refusal to comply with Western-led interventions. The same countries that have historically profited from Burkina Faso's mineral wealth, as well as regional presence in the Sahel, are now among the first to condemn its leadership for pursuing policies that they believe are not in their interests. To the majority of Burkinabe, Ibrahim Traoré's coming is an overdue effort to reclaim their national sovereignty and protect their interests against foreign intrusion. While the domestic problems of the nation, political repression, abuses of human rights, and the jihad insurgency are genuine, the majority perceive these as being in the normal process of independence and self-determination. In response to the usual threats and pressures from the West, Burkina Faso, along with Mali and Niger, has formed the Alliance of Sahel States, a political and military bloc created to defy foreign interference and reinforce mutual security. The alliance is a clear break with the previous trend of relying on Western powers for stability and security. The Sahel Alliance is significant because it constitutes a shift to regional solutions to regional problems. Rather than relying on French security forces, Sahel countries are looking more towards each other for cooperation, for gathering intelligence, and for common security measures. The new configuration is a plain assertion of African agency and a repudiation of the patronizing attitude that has characterized so much Western engagement with Africa. For many, the Union brings to mind Thomas Sankara's Pan-African ambitions. The Burkina Faso president, who was assassinated in 1987 under still unknown circumstances. Sankara's vision of African unification, economic independence, and self-determination is a powerful incentive for Traoré and the broader movement for political change in the region. In addition to his military and political reforms, Ibrahim Traoré initiated a cultural revolution. Through the promotion of African traditional practices and national identity symbols, his government is filling his citizens with a sense of pride and belonging as Burkinabe. Judges wear traditional attire in courtrooms, national activities are conducted in local languages, and textbooks are being rewritten to include indigenous history and culture, rather than colonial perspectives. This cultural change is not metaphorical. It is an act of reclaiming, a way of reasserting Burkinabe's identity against the backdrop of decades of colonialism and foreign domination. It is a way of reminding citizens what they have in common and of the power that lies in their cultural unity. Through this cultural rebirth, Ibrahim Traoré is attempting to heal the cleavages which have ravaged Burkina Faso for many years. With a country of highly fractured ethnic and religious composition, the forging of national cohesion and pride is at least an initial step in the creation of a more univocal and secure nation. While there has been growing support for Traoré's presidency, it would be unfair to suggest all is well. Freedom of the press has actually decreased, with harassment or arrest of some reporters. Political opposition remains limited, and the centralization of power in the presidency and the military have been factors in concerns about the long-term viability of Burkina Faso's democracy. Moreover, although such a realignment towards Russia and other non-Western nations could diversify Burkina Faso's external relations, it could also create new dependencies. Russia, of course, has its own geostrategic ambitions in Africa and may not be the panacea that many are looking for. The conflict against jihadist rebels is hardly won, and the country still struggles with major issues in terms of security, food insecurity, inflation, and public health. But to most Burkinabe, these dangers are balanced by the promise of a brighter tomorrow. A tomorrow in which Burkina is not subject to the whims of foreign powers or corrupt elites. Ibrahim Traoré, an idealistic and fiery champion of national sovereignty, dreams of a Burkina that is able to stand on its own 2 feet, unencumbered by the shackles of colonialism nor under the influence of foreign forces. Ibrahim Traoré has not had an easy time as a leader. He has faced various attempts at assassination, resistance within his own party, and international outcry. Despite all this, he has remained loyal to the people of Burkina Faso. His own supporters look not only to his policies, but to his own character, his humility, determination, and unshakable commitment to the country's future. His own now famous words, "We are not fighting for a presidency. We are fighting for our people to live in dignity," sum up his mission. Despite all the problems that are ahead of him, Ibrahim Traoré is a man who has earned the trust of his people. He is not all-powerful, and he might face more difficulties in the future. But for now, he is an oasis of hope for a country that has been for years devastated by political turmoil and external pressures. The future of Burkina Faso is not assured, and the way ahead will be rocky. The country is in danger from within and without. But the people of Burkina Faso are no longer sleeping. They are awake, mobilized, and determined to defend their sovereignty. Captain Ibrahim Traoré has now become a symbol of resistance, not only within Burkina Faso, but across the entire African continent. As his movement grows, so does the call for African solutions to African problems. The assassination plot was designed to kill one man, but it ended up mobilizing a movement that is fighting for the future of a free and independent Burkina Faso. For now, Traoré is the leader his people have chosen, and they will fight to defend him with all the determination and courage at their disposal.